Well, you're going to see another person right now who's very passionate about his students' learning. But first, think about how you feel right now. I'm going to say a word, and think about how you feel after that. Math. What just happened? For me, I'm like, oh, cool, a puzzle, it's awesome. But for most of our students, when they hear the word mathematics, fear. They think they can't accomplish their goals because of mathematics. So you're going to meet someone who took students' fear of mathematics and decided to create a solution. And when I talk about this solution is truly awesome. It's grand. It's massive. It's bigger than Grumpy Cat. So I'm going to leave you with that teaser because James Sousa is an absolutely amazing educator. In fact, he is Arizona Professor of the Year. He is making a significant impact on math education, not only at Phoenix College, where he teaches math, not only at the Maricopa Community Colleges, but as you will see very soon, worldwide. So please join me in welcoming my friend, the Arizona Professor of the Year, James Sousa.
Wow, I sure hope this goes well. So as Lisa had mentioned, on the first day of math class, some students have a lot of anxiety and they're not feeling extremely confident. So what I do is I put them into groups and I ask them to do, as part of an icebreaker, introduce themselves, tell the group one thing they're good at, and also what they did to develop that special skill and talent. They look at me like, is this guy serious on the first day? Well, as they begin to share, you see the energy level rise from here to here. The students become engaged, they're interested, they're smiling, and I'm thinking to myself, now is the first time for that first math lesson. So over the past several years, I've referred to the following quote for motivation and direction. The purpose of life is to contribute in some way to making things better. To me, an example of this would be YouTube. YouTube is a great place to go to learn about how to do home repairs, auto repairs, to hear an inspirational story, to learn about mathematics. Pretty much anything you want to learn about, you can learn on YouTube. Of course, with anything online, though, you do want to make sure you check your resource, or you check your source. As an example, a few weeks ago, I needed to repair a tub spout diverter, which is pictured here. When I would pull up the knob for the shower, no water was coming out the shower spout. And I've learned from experience that while I do consider myself pretty handy, when it comes to electrical and plumbing, if you don't know what you're doing, it's best to call an expert to avoid a disaster. But I was able to watch 3 or 4 videos on YouTube, determine exactly what type of tub spout I needed, there are several types, make one trip to the hardware store, get the right tub spout, and install it in less than 20 minutes. I mean, I was amazed at my progress. The statistics behind YouTube are truly amazing. The one that stands out most to me is that every minute, 100 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube, which means every hour, there's an additional 6,000 hours of video on YouTube. Of course, these other stats are also amazing, but let's move along. So about 5 years ago, I started asking myself, what can I do to make things better for students? And I thought, well, I know mathematics. Why don't I start making math videos and sharing them with the world on YouTube? This is a picture of my home setup. It's nothing fancy. I have a tablet PC, which allows me to actually write on the computer screen. I have an external hard drive, external monitor, and a headset, and I'm ready to go. The process I go through to make these videos is also fairly straightforward. I create a PowerPoint presentation. I upload that to a free program called Classroom Presenter 3, which allows me to digitally ink over the PowerPoint slides as I record it using a program called Camtasia. After the recording, I edit it using Camtasia, upload it to YouTube. And I've gone through this process thousands of times. I now have over 4,000 videos on YouTube, ranging from basic arithmetic all the way through Calculus 3 and beyond. So people often ask me, how do you go about making 4,000 videos? Well, there's no secret recipe to do that. It's just one at a time. I like to think of it as if you were building a brick wall, how would you go about doing that? Well, you would take each brick and lay it down the best way that you know how at the time and repeat the process. Hopefully through that process, you become more efficient at creating that wall and laying those bricks. And the reality is some days it is a grind. It's grind after grind after grind. But keeping the end goal in sight, it's all worth it. I think that when things get tough, and we think about quitting, is when we really learn about who we are, and if we push through that, I think the end result is usually worth it. The videos that I've made actually became much more impactful after meeting faculty that were interested in teaching their courses using all free course materials, or OER. OER stands for Open Educational Resources, which are learning materials that are posted online usually, that are openly licensed and freely shared. I've been able to work with amazing and inspiring faculty members, several here at SCC, but also faculty across the nation. So through these collaborative efforts and the contributions of many, we've been able to create these complete courses that offer students ebooks or workbooks, video lessons and video examples, as well as online homework with instant feedback. Again, all this is offered to students on the first day of class or before at no cost to them. The only extra cost might be if they want a print copy of the textbook. Here's an example of what an OER course might look like. This is actually one section of a Calculus 1 course that I taught for the first time last semester. So looking at just one section, students have 3 links and the format is consistent. The first link is the link to the ebook. This is a PDF file, so students can download the file, they can print the file, and they can do whatever they want with it because it's openly licensed. The second link is my biggest contribution, are the video lessons. Every major topic in every section has video lessons that customize the instruction to their needs. And that's why I'm a big advocate of videos in math instruction, or any instruction for that matter. Typically, if I was to give a lecture, I would lecture toward the middle level of the class where the students that were struggling are lost and the advanced students are bored. While the video allows them to customize that instruction to their needs. They can pause the video, they can rewind the video, they can watch it 5 times. They can do whatever they need to learn those concepts. It puts them in control. The third link is for the online homework. Within the online homework, students also have access to a variety of help options. These videos in the homework assignments are very short clips of similar problems to the ones they're working on. Toward the bottom of each question, students have links. There are 2 links there. One sends the instructor a message regarding that question, and the instructor gets an exact copy of the question they're working on. And the final link in the question is to post to a discussion forum. The idea there is that students can help students online 24/7 using that discussion forum. Again, it copies that exact question into the post. One way of seeing that this is making a difference, that the collaboration that makes these courses is make a difference for our students, is through the statistics offered by YouTube from my YouTube channel. The channel currently has over 36,000 subscribers, over 18 million views. Again, topics ranging from basic arithmetic all the way through Calculus 3 and beyond. If we take a look at actual viewing time of the videos, if we take a look at a 28-day time period or 4 weeks, the viewing time comes out to almost 2.3 million minutes, which averages to approximately 4.3 years, which means in 1 week, there's over 1 year of viewing time every week, every month, every time we look at this. Now, the videos are also viewed worldwide. The top 5 countries are the US, Canada, Philippines, United Kingdom, as well as India. Within the United States, the top 5 states viewing the videos: Arizona, Washington, California, New York, and Texas. Because the videos are openly licensed, they're also hosted on several sites, many of which target other countries. TES Connect targets the UK. Of course, there's TES Australia, TES India. And more recently, I found the videos on Roku TV. Again, they're openly licensed, so I don't even know where they may be. And that's through a company called Future Today. More locally at Phoenix College, this semester we're offering a total of 10 OER or free courses to any student anywhere. They don't count for college credit. They don't show on their transcripts. But the idea is that students can use these courses to learn the material anywhere, anytime that they need. The first two are Developmental Math MOOCs, where MOOC stands for a massively open online course. These two courses offer instructor interaction, and the idea here is that many students are taking these courses several times, paying for them every time, and for here, they can now take these courses for free, and the idea is they would complete the course, retake the placement test, and then test into developmental mathematics. The new courses for this semester are the new self-study courses, and the idea behind these courses is that students would have portals of resources, regardless of who their instructor is or what materials they're using. They could sign up for these courses, have a portal of resources, videos, extra practice problems to help them be successful in the course. This also allows students to extend their learning beyond the predetermined 16-week semester. And right now we say you must learn this much material in 16 weeks. What if it takes them 20 weeks? Why not give them that extra time? Why not allow them the opportunity to have that extra time to be successful? They can use these to do review or work ahead for the next class. District-wide, we have the Maricopa Millions project with a goal of promoting the use of OER and saving students $5 million over 5 years. Within the first 2 years, students have saved almost $3.5 million through the use of OER across the Maricopa district. Maricopa Millions also funds the development of new OER courses through small grants. Thanks to Maricopa Millions, now students have the ability to search online for courses that are taught using low-cost or no-cost textbooks and course materials. The low-cost designation is $40 or less. So the impact of OER continues to grow, and it's truly a great environment to be in because of the collaboration. When we think about the potential of OER, it's really unlimited. It can have an impact in the classroom, but it can also have a rippling effect across our district, across the state, across the country, even across the world. Each of us has some special skill that we can share. So I want to end by asking you a question that I often ask myself over and over again, as well as my son as he finds his way through life. And the question is, why not you? Why not you? Why not you? Why not contribute and make a difference? Why not set high goals and strive to meet those? Why not make things better by sharing and collaborating? Better yet, why not talk to your friends and colleagues who share a common goal and ask, why not us? Why can't we make a difference? I know we can. I know we can make a difference through sharing and collaboration. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.